Hey, thank you. Welcome to the Roland GRIMES Sports and Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Roland Bubba Grimes. Thank you for joining us for the next edition. As always, I have my esteemed co-host and my budding best friend over here, Mr. Self-Empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Wilbert Skipper. Skip, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, ready to go. It was a lovely Saturday in Upper Marlboro. We have an opportunity to introduce to everybody two wonderful authors, and Roland, I'm going to let you run with that.
All right, super. Hey, folks, we have two aspiring professional authors here, and actually they have completed at least 2 of their manuscripts so far. I'm going to let you learn about them in their own words, and then they're going to tell you a little bit about their project and how it can be of interest and of benefit to you out there in the viewing public. Ladies and gentlemen, to my near right and your left is a young lady that we affectionately know as Dreas. Dreas has 2 pieces here, and basically I'm going to let her tell you very quickly the title and the purpose of those writings. Dreas, Fabric of My Intentions, your first title. Tell me a little bit about it.
Fabrics of My Intentions is a book of poetry. It's a book of collection. I like to say that I channeled from one of my distant mentors, Miss Maya Angelou.
Okay. So you pick good mentors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been following her since I was about 6.
Okay.
Yeah, so I developed a collection of poems based on that. They're quirky, everyday poems, good pick-me-ups, good sister, friend poems.
So super. Now, that's your second book, correct?
That is my second book.
And your first book, Embellished Truths.
Embellished
Now,
Truths.
I kind of like that. Kind of like that title because we were talking to one of my guests before, and I was telling them how I sometimes embellish the truth as a way of kind of saying that we don't lie.
Okay.
But nonetheless, tell us a little bit about Embellished Truths.
Well, just like you said, Embellished Truths has the skeleton. Has some traces of elements from my life. Growing up, I guess I got to a certain point where I became that naive young girl. So I went through a bit of obstacles and hurdles, stumbling blocks, and those are the elements that the foundation that Embellished Truths were based on.
Okay, we're going to dig into some of those obstacles and stumbling blocks in a minute. All right, so buckle up, folks. Tyeisha down there, how are you? Tyeisha, I have been following your stuff for the last month or so. We've been greatly anticipating your arrival. I know we got you lost one time. I apologize. My human GPS was not working that day.
It's okay.
So when this is all over, I'm gonna get you a fat burger and some fries and make it up to you. Hey, tell us a little bit about your project.
Okay. My first book is Diamonds in the Rough, Life's No Fairy Tale. And this book is based off of 7 young women. The book's supposed to be relatable to every man and every woman, so I wanted to do something
Relatable to every man and woman?
Every man and
I'm
woman.
scared.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to be relatable to every man and every woman. I wanted to do something a little different.
Okay.
Kind of like create a soap opera through the form of novels, but a black soap opera,
Okay.
you know? The book's
a
about
block
yeah, my book's about 7 women and they start off really young. They don't have any guidance and they're trying to find their way. It's a story about heartache, pain, betrayal, and friendship. They come to find out that life's no fairy tale at all, and in their journey they meet these really intriguing men. Naturally, right? You have the
Naturally.
Naturally. You got the bad boy who now wants to be good.
Okay.
The good boy who now wants to be bad.
Oh, these are characters. The
These are
bad boy wants
characters
to be
in
good. The good boy that wants to be bad.
Yes,
Okay.
actually. We got the knucklehead. We can't really tell him too much. He just knows everything.
Okay.
The one that displays sophistication. The $1 million man. You got the brother who's on the straight and narrow path now. He discovered religion and he's on the straight and narrow path. But an event that you mess with the things that's very precious to him, you can see another side. And you got the one that the ladies consider to be a playboy, but he really isn't a playboy. Maybe a little misunderstood, but you know, he's really not a playboy. He just knows how to treat the ladies, and the ladies aren't really used to being treated like that, so they all want to put him into a committed relationship.
Okay.
So it's something different, really, really fun.
Well, you just covered the entire male race. I mean, everybody that I know personally, you just described one of us in one way. Real quick, tell us about your other project.
Other book is about the superficial young lady. She's a bit of a mean person. She preys on the weak. She winds up going to Atlanta in my book, and she meets a young lady that's a direct opposite of her. Very timid, very shy, had a hard life, been in and out of foster homes. No friends. She's looking for love in all the wrong places. The young ladies are superficial. It's like, listen, girl, I'm going to help you discover your inner diva, and we're going to go and we're going to accomplish some big things in the world.
I have a feeling that this is going I have a feeling that this is going to take a turn for the worse.
Absolutely,
Yes.
sounds like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And the young lady is like, well, you know, I'm not so sure about it. And it's superficial. It's like, trust me. So when the young lady who is timid and shy actually starts to entrust the one that's superficial, let's just say that the one that's superficial comes back. She's like, listen, you know, thank you for helping me get what it is that I have, but no one in my elite circle would ever want to deal with anybody like you. I think that you're pathetic and you're weak and you need to remove yourself from my space pretty much. Yeah, and the person who she underestimates comes back and teaches her a really, really valuable lesson, and it's a wicked twist at the end of the book. Have to read, a must read.
I tell y'all what, y'all. Okay, I want y'all to write some books for me. Skip, you had a question, bro.
Well, actually, yeah. First of all, I want to commend both of you young ladies for your authorship. I'm inspired to be an author, and hopefully that's going to happen very soon with my new book. But before you became an author, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you wind up deciding that you wanted to become an author, and what really inspires you to just keep going with it? Because you both of you, you young ladies, have two books, and not just one. Either one of you can.
Yeah, go ahead, start off, Andrea.
She always.
You in the hot seat, baby.
Yeah. Well, we were working.
By the way, she has 7 or 12 different personalities. She told me off the camera, so I'm gonna help her direct. Go ahead.
We were working in corporate America together, and so I had been writing for some time. We're trying to get out my first book, and so Tyeisha would pass my desk every day, and she would say, "Oh, you're writing. Good for you. Let me know when it comes out. I'll buy the book." And that went on for a few months, and then one day she decided to go looking for some writing that she had done when she was younger, and she brought it into work, and she asked me if I would give her my contacts that I was building up for self-publishing, and so I shared the information with her, and then she took off running. She got a book printed, bound, and came, and I brought my first copy from her, and then she shared her contacts with me on printing and marketing, and so we exchanged information. And so we've been encouraging and supporting one another ever since.
Now, did you all know each other before this corporate America experience?
No.
And what was it that attracted you or migrated you toward her to have this kind of exchange, and then to basically start to partner a little bit from that point on?
Well, I just thought it was very, very, very commendable that she was actually taking the time and initiative to write a book. I'm like, yeah, girl, that's good. I can't.
Okay, so you didn't turn into hater mode.
No, I had no desire to write any book at all whatsoever. I used to write when I was younger, and it was a way for me to escape my troubled childhood. My poetry, I started off with poetry, and it never had to make sense to anybody other than myself. It was my way of expressing myself and doing whatever it is that I needed to do to get over any situations that were taking place at that particular time. I never thought to write a book. I'm very spiritually connected in tune with myself, so I use the power of prayer to be delivered in my gift and what it is that I'm supposed to do, and it came to my spirit to write a book, so that's what I did.
Well, now let me ask you this: with the 2 books that you guys have written, what is one of the biggest parts of you that you see in your book? As an author, sometimes we write about ourselves or write about other people, and we find ourselves playing a role in that writing.
Yeah, we help form the characters and things. So what aspects of you appear in your books? Dreas, would you ready to put you on the hot seat?
Back to you.
Well, I like to communicate. I like to, and I get to do that in my writing. You know, no matter what the situation is. You know, if all of my emotion goes into writing. So if I'm mad, if I'm sad, if I have something to say, you know, I can do it in the form of writing, and I don't have to worry about anybody interjecting or giving me their opinion. I can do that, and I can also couple that with my imagination and let it take its own route.
So it serves as an outlet for you.
It's an outlet. It's an escapism, and that's what reading was always for me. You know, that's how I started writing. I just loved to read. I read everything that I could get my hands on, as a child.
Okay. Ty?
As for me, for reading in school, I was a direct opposite. You know, I wasn't into reading, anything like that. I was more so into partying and having a good time at that particular time and point. I like to be able to just, you know, put a little bit of myself into the books and so forth. Everything's fiction in my book, but I try to use some type of realistic situations because I believe that everybody has a story to tell. So it's really, really good to be able to put your, you know, your experience and mix it around and develop the characters and take it in whatever direction it is that you want. You have the power when you're actually writing. So I'm really like a big kid, so I have like an imagination that's out of this world.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, big kid. We're going to get back to you in a few minutes. Hey, folks, we're going to take a pause for the calls once again from the Roland GRIMES show. We'll be back with our authors, Dreas and Tyeisha Downer. We're going to get into a little bit more about their project and where they're going from here. Stay tuned. Stay locked on that dial. We'll be back to you in just a moment. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Roland GRIMES show. Have our astounding guests here, Dreas and Tyeisha Downer, as they're talking about their projects, their books. We're going to get into it a little bit more in depth right now. I'm going to direct the first question to Tyeisha. Tell us, give us one or two scenarios. Tell us about some of your characters. Pick a couple of them. Tell us who they are, where they're going, and why did you decide to write about them?
Radiance. Radiance is a naive young woman that had to actually grow up before her time. She's forced to take on adult responsibilities before she's actually an adult.
Now, is there a reason why she had to?
She has a mother, and her mother tends to put men before herself and before her children. So she's taking care of her brother. She's doing everything to her own ability, but she's still a child herself. So she's making a lot of, bad decisions. So she's going out into the world, and she doesn't really know what to expect out there when she's out there. Because she still has a sense of innocence to her, even though she's not 100% innocent.
Now, you trying to get a particular point across to your audience as you write about a radiance, or you're just describing a scenario?
I really want to be able to meet young women or young men where they are. If you was to give someone today a self-help book and say, here, read this book, this is something that's actually going to really help you, the odds of you getting them to actually read the self-help book is very, very slim to nothing. So my idea was generally to put something in there where they can relate to it and it's entertaining and they're actually learning a lesson in the process of it without even knowing that they're learning, in the process.
Okay, so you're gonna trick them into learning.
Yeah, so it's kind of like meeting them where they are and taking them where I want them to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotta keep my eye on you. That's what now, before Skip jumps into Dreas, now I had the chance to pop open one of your books and went into the first page, and quite frankly, you hit me upside the head with it. And then you kind of explained to me that it's gonna go in different directions, etc.
Right.
But you kind of use that shock value to start out, and you describe a situation. That I told you myself that, hey, this looks like some movies that I've seen, this looks like some stories I've heard, this looks like, sounds like some locker room talk. What is it or how is it that you're trying to use some of these realistic or real life situations that folks find in the boardroom or the bedroom to try to get your point across to your audience?
Well, like you just said, I wanted to hit the readers over their head.
And you did.
I wanted to hit them over their head before, like Tyeisha just said, I went into a message. My story is about the woman who has lost herself. Well, actually, she never knew who she was. So she sets out on a journey to find out who she is. She has a grandmother in her ear that's trying to give her cautionary advice as that nothing's new under the sun that you're doing. But as we all have been there, she has to find herself
instead of just listening to a grandmother. Right, she wants to experience these things.
She wants to experience things. So
and how's it working out for her?
She gets a few bumps and bruises in the process, and you have to read it to find out how it turns out. But it's very exciting, very suspenseful book. Very suspenseful book.
Well, I heard someone mention a little bit earlier that some of what you've written and how you speak about it is somewhat powerful. And as you talk about it, I see, that you really get into it, you really get into the characters, you really get into your writing. And obviously you should really get into it on your job, but we're not going to talk about it. Right? But you also, from what I understand, are continuing your education right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am finishing up my 3rd year at Morgan State University.
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears! And I'm seeking a degree in screenwriting. Actually, I love Morgan, and I believe in education. It's something that was taught to me at a very young age. That with education you can go anywhere. So I'm constantly feeding my mind, trying to stay alert of everything and aware of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and the things that I'm learning now are helping me in that journey, just like that naive girl in that book. They're helping to open certain doors for me and just give me a new leash on life.
Okay. Now, Tyeisha, you're one of the most powerful sisters on the planet. Tell us a little bit about your pedigree.
What? I'm sorry.
Tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background and your foreground.
Well, my background, I went to Baltimore City Community College. I actually wanted to be a nurse, and then I decided that wasn't anything that I wanted to do. So then I started to say, you know what, I want to go and do something else. I was involved in a lot of things. So then I went to sales, then I went to property management, and now I'm just pursuing authorship. Started my publishing company. Probably going to take a couple of creative writing courses and so forth. I'm also interested in screenwriting. So I was just trying to find my way. Okay. I think I found it.
Well, now obviously both of you all are very successful at this point in your life.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we get to know people once they become successful. But you were somebody before you became successful. So tell us a little bit about that. Your upbringing, where you come from in Baltimore. We know how you arrived at this point. But take us back a little bit. That little 12-year-old,
naive girl,
as they say, young lady trying to find her way. Take us back, and this question is for both of you guys.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in East Baltimore, and I started on the path of college immediately out of high school. It didn't work then. I went because that was the thing to do. That's what I was told to do. Go straight to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. I just went. So that didn't work out really well. So after a few semesters of not so good grades, I left. And then a couple of years later, I went back. And actually, I went back after I lost my mom. I lost my mom in 2003. And I believe that when I did, she passed on a sense of courage to me. And I had a new outlook on life. And I was finding my purpose at that time. And that's when I started writing. I went back to school, and I was more focused, more driven through journaling. I came to the book, and I was able to channel in on some of those different personalities I discussed with with you. And so that's what I did. I was that, like you said, I was that naive girl. Went through a few stumbling blocks, a few hurdles. Didn't take advice from my elders. Had to learn through some hard lessons that they were trying to prevent me from some harsh lessons. So, but I wouldn't trade anything for it.
And your turn?
I actually grew up in West Baltimore, One Oak and Liberty Heights. Single parent. My parents started off together and they wound up separating. Life wasn't a fairy tale. A lot of things that I had to actually endure. One of the ways that I've actually was able to escape is through writing poetry and so forth. And I've always been spiritually in line with myself, even in the midst of confusion. Just a person who had to just take on, much like Radiance. That's something we have similar. Had to take on a lot of responsibilities before I was. Had to learn some harsh lessons and had to learn how to bring in supplemental income. Got involved in some things and had to do what I had to do in order to, survive and do whatever it is that is needed.
Now, this East Baltimore, West Baltimore. Now, I love Baltimore, and we've had another author on this show. It appears that Baltimore is now the budding mecca for authors. Just want to let you all know that.
Authorship is alive.
So, tell me a little bit about this Baltimore experience quickly. Got a couple minutes before we take our next break. Tell me a little bit more about this Baltimore experience that makes you or compels you to talk to other people about those experiences and somehow either help them to get through it or just let them know what's happening. What is it about Baltimore? What is it in that water that's making you guys write? And how did you grow up in such a way that that you felt like you really need to tell people about it?
For me, it's more so like the Baltimore experiences depends. It could go good way and bad ways. One of the reasons I actually wanted to get involved, and we do speaking engagements and so forth, is that I've always had a passion for senior citizens and children. If I had the appropriate guidance when I was younger, I think that I probably would have done things a little bit differently. And sometimes you have to be able to just relate and vibe to children, more so for the children for me, whereas though if they have the mentor or something to look forward to let them know that they can be the president of the United States, or they can be that famous actress, singer, model, whatever it is that their dreams are. Whereas though if you just dare to dream and use your imagination, it's possible. So I think that it's really important that we instill in our youth very, 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 very early. It's something that wasn't instilled in me as I was growing up, and it's something that's necessary.
Okay, we're going to put a pin in that, Dreas. When we get back, I want you to tell us a little bit about your Baltimore experience as well, all right? Hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The Roland Grimes Show in just a few minutes. Hold tight. Hey, welcome back. Thank you. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Roland Grimes Sports and Entertainment Show. We're going to jump right into it. Once again with our authors, Dreas and Tyeisha Downer. Ladies, you were telling us a little bit before we took our break about your Baltimore experience. Dreas, tell us about this Baltimore experience.
Well, my Baltimore experience and what helped me to share the information with Tyeisha, as we talked about earlier, was that there wasn't a lot of support in Baltimore. And this is just my opinion, especially amongst women.
Okay.
So.
And why do you think there was lack of support among the women, especially?
Honestly, I think because of ego. Okay. I think because of ego. I think because of self-esteem. Jealousy. A lot of times. Like we said earlier, that helped me to. I didn't want to be that type of person. Okay. So I wanted to be the change that you want to see. So that started me. That's why I shared my information with her, and she reciprocated that, shared her information with me, and so that's part of the mission of my book also, to encourage and to support, younger women.
Are you guys currently working as mentors? Are you doing a lot of mentorship, especially with young women who are inspired to either become an author or just inspired to just do the right thing?
We are currently accepting, anybody who's interested in having speakers. We've done a few things. Just did something with Diamonds on the Rise. We had a really beautiful experience there. A few things at Strayer University. So we are taking, more speaking engagements. And if someone wanted to book, they could book on email through info@tmdpublishing.net. Or what's your email?
Dreas@dreaschimera.com, because we do think that it's important to share the knowledge of supporting one another and encouraging one another. And so that's the message that we try to incorporate in our speaking events, that everybody needs support. We try to use our stories as tools to help people.
Now, young women growing up in any area, urban area, Baltimore, or any other part of the United States of America, especially, you have to make some decisions on what you're going to do. You have to make decisions about education, relationships, sex, travel, everything. Now, in your books, in your writings, in your experiences, these kinds of decisions that have to be made by young ladies, they sometimes can have an empowering effect, or very damaging effect. Talk a little bit about how your characters are, or how your characters will make these decisions. What types of pitfalls are you trying to pass on to people to look out for, and what are you telling the young ladies specifically through your writing and through your speaking?
You want me to go? Well, with mine, I'm trying to share the importance of paying attention to your gut instincts.
Okay. Gut instinct?
Your gut instincts, your intuition. My books speak a lot about paying attention to that voice of a higher being, you know, and channeling out all the noise which sometimes surrounds our lives, whether it be children, bills, family members, work. We all have hectic schedules. So I'd speak a lot of that, drowning that noise out so that you can focus on what you're supposed to do in life, your journey, and where you want to go in life.
For me, I'm actually targeting it where though it's consequences to your actions.
Okay.
Sometimes we think about with your upbringing and what it is that you're actually going through. I really want young women in particular to realize that even in the most dirtiest, taintiest situation, you know, if you find a diamond and it's a little rust in it and it's a little dull, it's still a diamond at the end of the day. To realize your own self-worth. In the book, I'm teaching lessons about your first heartache, betrayal, friendship, pain, you know. So it's something that everybody can relate to, and it's a part of life.
Okay. Now, just as she has these multiple personalities, you had these multiple guys in one of your books. You know, you had each type of man that I've ever come across. Right. So in 30 seconds or so, tell us what some of the messages you're getting across to these young ladies in terms of these guys.
Just 30 seconds or less. Just be careful in the decisions. Everything that glitters isn't necessarily gold. And sometimes you have to open up your eyes, and sometimes you have to start loving what's good for you and not exactly what it is that you think that you want. Because sometimes what it is that you think that you want isn't really what you want at all.
Really? Okay, we're going to keep that. Hey, Skip, we're going to make sure we get it back on the show at another time. If that's cool with you?
Absolutely. All
right. Hey, on behalf of my esteemed producer, Mr. Finesse Demps, LFP Media, and everyone associated with the Roland GRIMES Sports and Entertainment Project, we're going to bid you adieu. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks again to our authors, Dreas and Tyeisha. And on our website, we're going to tell you a little bit about how you can find them and connect to them. At this point in time, I'm going to wish you a great week ahead. Look forward to seeing you next week. And good luck to you, and God bless. Take care.